Alright, well, since the first one seemed to go kind of well, I decided to do another one. This time I'm going to be playing Kennen, and the loading screen is up because I derped a little bit and hit start record, so you can kind of look at team comp. I mean, this is kind of a lower elo game than what I was doing, so again, team comp is really not that important in solo queue until you get a lot higher. Uh, since I was leveling and going up in elo, I kind of told people whenever the game started that I'd like to play something that can carry, because honestly, you can't carry yourself unless you're playing a character that can carry. So you can't win with Jenna unless you have a good carry bottom or another person you can support. And that's one of the tough things about being forced into a support role. When you're like sub 1500, don't feel obligated to play a role you're not comfortable with. Just play something you think you can win with. That's the big thing. And usually your team is going to be pretty accommodating. I mean, I know there's a game every once in a while where it's just really tough. But anyways, that aside, my team decides that they want to do a level 1 here, and it's a really good idea with Taric and Cho'Gath. They both have really hard CC at level 1 with Cho'Gath's knockup and Taric's stun. Plus, we can lead that into a Caitlyn trap, and Kennen and Gangplank have some pretty good damage they can lay out. Plus we have 2 Ignite and an Exhaust, so that's 2 Exhaust actually because our Taric took Exhaust. So that's really good for us. And we just kind of run into this bush, and I think the Trundle was just not paying attention at all because he should have seen us coming. And then he derps a little bit with his flash, so that's unfortunate. It gives us 5 people get money for that and experience. That's awesome. It's a huge advantage. So even though we didn't mess up the jungle, we got first blood, and you can see I think I got 83 gold for that. Gangplank is going to be really far ahead in jungling because he's going to level faster off creep waves in the jungle. So he'll be about a creep or 2 ahead of where he's supposed to be. This is pretty common knowledge, but just in case people don't know, if you're mid and top, one really important thing is to give your jungler a good leash if they start at blue, because that helps them get ahead, makes them take less damage. And even though the Gangplank started with potions and cloth armor, that'll just let him hold on to those for a little bit longer. So I head to my lane, and I know I'm going to be against Morgana, so I start boots. Sometimes on Kennen I start Dorns. Like if I knew I was going to go against Pantheon here, I would have started Dorns probably. Picking your first item based on what you're laning against is pretty important. Boots lets you dodge Morgana's Q pretty easily. Boots are also really good against characters like Annie and Brand because it lets you trade with them more. Like if Annie's running up to Q you, then if you have no boots and she has boots, she's going to be able to Q you in the face and harass you as much as she wants and get away. So the early kind of laning phase right here is pretty boring. If Jenna is the goddess slut of assist, then Kennen is the little goddess slut of lane harass, and that's exactly how I play him. Starting at level 2, once you get his W, every 4th attack you get a little shuriken that puts a mark on them, and also has a component of ability power with it. So you should try and use that as much as you can on the opponent. Luckily the Morgana that I'm going against isn't very good. You can see a little bit later. She's not using her skills optimally. She should be kind of healing off creeps and then backing off a little bit. I'm looking for times that I step out of my minions. I'm really careful though, because I know that Morgana harass is insane, and if I take a Q to the face, then I'm going to take a lot of damage. So I just kind of poke at her. I harass her down. I make sure that she's not able to farm easily and that she knows I'm not going to play passive. Kennen needs to be played really aggressively to be effective. And I actually end up making her level shield, which is pretty funny. So that's a good advantage. Just going to fast forward a little bit. One important thing when you're laning, don't neglect farm. Even though I'm harassing a lot, I'm still farming really well. She's only 3 ahead of me, but I've got her down to about half now. So she also has no potions, and that's one thing to note when you're laning against someone. She has incredible sustain with her passive, granted, but I have 3 potions right here, and she has none. So if I get a lot of burst off on her, then I know she can't take that unless she W's minions over and over. So here I go really aggressive once I hit 4. I know that I can charge into her and trade and come out on top because of my potions. And I have boots too, so she's having a really hard time dodging all my stuff. As you can see, she's really, really low. And right here I could have gotten a kill if I had dodged her Q. I could have actually ignited her and auto-attacked her for a kill because she had already blown her shield. And I should probably mention, the reason I chose this game to cast is because a lot of people complain that their team isn't doing well and that's why they weren't able to win. And this is one of those games where my team does awful. I think my team throws away our advantage and ends up, the kill score is like 3 and 6, which is pretty big. But I am just going to kind of explain to you as best I can how you can come back from something like that. Obviously, to win a game, it requires you to win your lane, which a lot of people know. And a lot of people complain that, oh, I won my lane, I went like 4 and 0 in laning phase, and my team just fed so much. So this is, I'm going to give some commentary on how you can kind of fix that. You can see the Cho'Gath right here is complaining a ton. He's really upset because he got ganked, and he's saying that he's basically going to AFK if we don't go gank top. So I take a moment and I just say, hey, yeah, I'll come top in a second, just to kind of appease him. And I honestly, this game, I have no idea what's going on bottom. It's just a derp fest down there. I think they trade kills 4 or 5 times. And so as Kennen, I go back to kind of counter Morg. She has incredible sustain, and I need that to compete with her. So as soon as I get 1200 gold, I back and I get my Hextech Revolver, which gives me a ton of spell vamp, and it's really good on Kennen. And so now I notice that Gangplank up here is starting to go in to try to help this Cho'Gath, because obviously he feels obligated because the Cho'Gath's complaining. And it turns out to be horrible because Trundle's there and he counter ganks and Morgana shows up. So noticing that is really important. It's good map awareness on my part. I come top, and then I notice that they've blown everything, so I run in with my ult and I try to save the Cho'Gath, but Morgana gets off an ignite and I get red buff. So I start chasing the Morgana. And here, I flash as soon as I get the stun, because I know that she's going to Q like that. And I know I can kill them both, and I start to E, but then they run away, and I'm not going to chase that because my flash is down, my ignite is down, and between the two of them, they can probably burst me. So, the trade was pretty good. I mean, Cho'Gath and Gangplank died, but the person who Gangplank gave his red to, I killed. So the Cho'Gath thinks that Pantheon has double buffs when he doesn't. He just is bent on complaining, and here goes the bottom lane trades that I was talking about. So you just notice that I'm not saying anything either. A lot of people are stop feed bottom, fuck noob. But just let them do what they're doing. They're not doing a terrible job. You can look at CS. The Caitlyn is actually doing better than the Misfortune. Not by a lot, but... And they're even. I mean, it's 1-1-1 across the board. The only person that's really doing poorly is the Cho'Gath. And I have a feeling that's just because he doesn't play against Pantheon. Pantheon's not a common pick. But, I'm not necessarily out-CSing the Morgana. That's pretty much an impossible task, and I don't expect to do that. I'm concentrating on farming, and I'm concentrating on zoning and harassing her. It's not really working just because Morgana's a really tough champ to do that. And I realized this at about that point, because I know the Morgana's competent enough to not let me zone and harass her, and so I start pushing to her tower and looking for other opportunities, because I know my other two lanes aren't doing well at all. And I even say, I'm like, it's hard to leave the lane against Morgana just because she pushes back whatever I do. So I start using my E to kind of push the waves, and then the Cho'Gath wants to trade, and I'm fine with that. So this is actually a pretty important part. I know that I'm trading and I'm going top against the Pantheon that's 2-0 right now and has 3 Doran's Blades. And I have, on Kennen, I take armor yellows just because I really like to be able to go into creeps and take that extra damage when I'm harassing, because he has a really good auto attack harass. So when I go back, you can see in my build right here, I pick up another Amp Tome because I want to rush Will of the Ancients for that awesome sustain. And then I also grab a Cloth Armor because I know I'm going against Pantheon. And Cloth Armor won't build into anything super beneficial for me, but I just need it to counter this lane without having to feed. So I go top, and Pantheon doesn't have the sustain that Morgana has. Even though he has 3 Doran's Blades, that's only 9% lifesteal, and his auto attacks are hitting for like 90, and none of his spells proc it. So he's not getting a lot of health back. He's maybe getting 10 health a tick. And any harass he has, I can trade with him, because he has mana and I'm energy. And I know that. So right now I'm just farming, because I know he's a little bit ahead of me. Not much, but I need to get harass on him. I can't just engage. So right here is really, really important, I think. This is the part. And I think Pantheon's missing, and I see Trundle start to come up. And then Trundle keeps coming, and I see the Pantheon ult go. And right here, I see Pantheon's gonna stun me, so I activate my ult immediately, because they're gonna tower dive. And I know that this is gonna happen. And Gangplank has amazing map awareness here too. He goes ahead and ults. And what I do is I just kind of kite away from the Pantheon, because he's not really a threat anymore. He's taking tower aggro, and he's trapped in Gangplank's ult. So I don't ignite him. Instead, I ignite the Trundle, and then I flash his E right here, so that I don't take the extra damage. And since the tower finishes him off, I know it's going to switch to Trundle with no creeps around. So then all I have to do is wait for him to take a tower hit, and then I just Q him. And I pick up a double kill and double buffs. That was a huge mistake on your part, and also why you never gank Kennen and tower dive him, because he can easily turn it around. And also, if you notice, I got below 100 health that fight, and now I'm kind of healing up, but you can't tell. But that cloth armor right there is the only reason that I was able to do that. Because with the extra 5% mitigation that it gives me, I was able to live through that and get a double kill and double buffs. Anyways, right here, the Morgana ports in. She honestly probably could have killed me right there, because all my cooldowns are down, but I do have double buffs, so she was probably right to play passive there. I just pushed the wave, because I'm going to want to go back and buy. I have my Will of the Ancients now, and that's a big buy on Kennen, because it increases your spell vamp and gives everybody a buff. And I know that Will of the Ancients is going to be really good on this Cho'Gath who's having trouble. So I decide to rush that. And you can see I buy it here. So I buy that, and then I buy this. I buy the component for Merc Treads, because going against Morgana, Pantheon, and Trundle, and Janna, that's a lot of CC that I can get rid of with Merc Treads. And with Kennen, it's more important to play him as kind of, not a tanky initiator, but he's definitely an initiator, and you need to live through the initial burst that's going to be focused on you. So right here, they switch lanes again, and they send Morgana top, and I make kind of a mistake. Not really right now. I mean, the dive is an okay idea, because he lands that, and then he flashes, and honestly, the Cho'Gath should have just been done after he flashed, and not had to waste his flash. And here's where I make a mistake. I stick around too long. I think that I'm a lot more fed than I am. So I try and take these Wraiths, and then I see that Trundle's going over here, and I underestimate the Pantheon. I thought he was really low, but he potted and got a bunch of health back, so he didn't B, and then I end up dying and giving double buffs back to the Trundle. So that was really bad, because then the Cho'Gath dies too. And yeah, the Caitlyn even points it out. I was really greedy right there. I thought I could get more kills, and it turned out poorly. I should have been more map aware there and noticed that Trundle and Morgana were missing. And obviously, if someone's going to dive all the way past this tower and then flash over here and burn an ult and everything, the correct thing to do would have been to come down in this jungle and stop us right here. So that was really unfortunate. I lost double buffs and didn't get anything out of it, wasted an ult. So here I kind of go middle. Notice that I'm not staying in my lane. I mean, because it's Morgana. I'm not going to do anything against Morgana. And she's just farming, and I'm keeping up okay. She's a lot ahead of me, actually. I didn't notice. It doesn't stay this bad, but she's 30 ahead of me right now, and that's pretty bad. So there goes bottom, being quite special again. I think I looked down there, though. Still not saying anything, but see, that's also largely my fault, because I gave Trundle double buffs, and that let him do that. So my team is not doing too well. It's 7-12 right now. There's no dragon control, because bottom is so volatile. There's no lane that's particularly winning. Cho'Gath is just kind of sitting middle. So what I decide to do is push this tower as hard as I can. And I'm reassuring my team that we're going to win late game. That's not always a sure thing, but I know against Pantheon that Pantheon scales off, and he's the character that's most fed on their team. He's 4-1. So against Pantheon, I'm just trying to say, like, hey, their most fed champion isn't that big of a deal. And what I want to get this tower down, because that'll allow me to roam with impunity. So I'm just pushing, but I'm also playing safe. I don't have a ward, don't know where Trundle is, don't know where Pantheon is, and Pantheon has a global ult. Well, not global anymore, but close to it. So I'm just zoning the Morgana as much as I can, making her afraid of me, showing her that I'm not going to just play passive and let her farm easily. And then Caitlyn does her job as Caitlyn and pushes really hard, gets bottom. But then the Cho'Gath dies again, and that's bad, because the Cho'Gath is not happy about dying, as you can see from the chat earlier. And then right here, the Morgana thinks she can kill me, and I know that because of this, she's not going to be able to kill me with her initial burst, and this catches me off guard. I almost die here, that's mostly just luck right there. I knew I could survive her ult combo, but again, the importance of building resist there. That's twice that I've lived because of counter building against my teammates, or against my opponents, rather. It's late, I can't talk. Again, just more farming. I'm trying to decide whether to go back, and I have all these pots I can burn. So Morgana and I are just basically having a sustained farm fest top, which is often what top turns into, especially because they've been switching lanes. But you can see that Morgana's not leveling her Q. I've forced her to level her black shield because of how much harass I'm putting on her. Just from the damages that go out, that's how I know that. Her Q, honestly, she's level 13 right now. Her Q should be doing chunks of my health. It should be taking off a fourth of my health. Right here's another important part. I see her teleporting bottom. I know I can't stop her because my stun takes a while to charge up on her. So I don't stop her, and I think I can get the tower. And then instead Trundle shows up, and he really wants to kill me. And he would have probably, because I didn't have any energy. So I have to flash, which is unfortunate. I still have a health pot though, but I decided to go back, which is the right choice because I have a lot of money and I want to buy. So I go back and I buy a Giant's Belt because the game isn't going that well, and I know that I'm going to need to initiate for my team, which means I'm going to need to survive. So now I have a decent amount of resist between Merc Treads, the cloth armor that I have, and the Giant's Belt, and they're all kind of fortifying each other because the more health you buy, the more your resist count for, and the more resist you have, the more your health counts for. So right now I'm really tanky actually, and between my sustain from Will of the Ancients, if I get in the middle of all of them and ult, they're not going to be able to kill me because I'll just be healing so much. That's exactly the kind of build that I want for this game. You can see now that the Morgana has made a kind of a mistake with her ult, and now they're all really low. So I push the lane top, and Trundle's not that great at pushing a lane. He can, once he gets to the tower, he can use his Contaminate and really wail on it. But I decide that I just want to keep pushing. And the Trundle makes a mistake here. I'm full health, and I have full energy. All my cooldowns are up. He tries to fight me, and that's when I just realized that I can kill him. Because see, I've gotten him to half. I know that now if I just activate my ult, he's going to die. So I force his flash, and if he hadn't have flashed, he would have died there, because there was one more tick of my ult, and he would have died. So now that I've forced him out of lane, I get to kill this tower finally. Oh, nope. That's a lie. Pantheon ults in and stops me. But you can see the minions are going to go to work on it. It only has 400 health left at this point. And the Pantheon, instead of going back to kind of help the tower, decides to harass me, which is kind of silly. He's not going to kill me, and I'm just going to harass him down like this, because every bit of harass I get on him is bad. He has no way to get his health back, unless he buys a bunch of pots, which he's been doing. Anyways, I continue going on like this, and notice that I'm pinging for my team, even in top lane. I'm just watching the lanes and seeing what's happening, and trying to give my team some advice through the easiest manner that I can, which is pings. And even though I haven't been roaming as much as I want to, I'm really bent on getting this tower. So I go back after pushing top, and I see that they're kind of trying to invade over here. And instead of going back top, I decide that I'm going to go middle and try and help people. And then they all go out, so I decide to go back top, because it's not a good idea to just kind of blindly run in there. Who knows if they were just baiting to drag in, or if there could have been other teammates there. Notice that there are 3 missing between Morgana and Janna. So my team decides to do Dragon, and they find Trundle there. It's a really silly idea to do Dragon by yourself like that. But the Trundle gets it, and I don't know if he's going to get away, actually. I don't remember this part of the video. It'll be a surprise for us. And he does get away. But I get top tower, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for me to kind of run around. And see, the Trundle kind of baited his team into this awful fight by doing Dragon by himself. He got really low, and everybody had to blow their cooldowns on him to save him. So the Morgana ends up paying for it and dying. And the Morgana is the best target to kill on their team right now, because she has 152 minion kills, and she's just really far ahead. She's very farmed. She's probably their biggest threat on their team right now. So, anyways, after I take tower, I rotate bottom, and I know that they have this tower down. The Caitlyn's fighting them, and I know that Janna has oracles, and I want to find her. So immediately I get really lucky, and she's kind of checking out blue buff, and I get my stun on her, and she ends up wasting 400 gold. It's always a good idea to go for someone with oracles, especially on a support hero, because if you look at Janna's build right now, she only has a gold per 5, and taking that oracles away essentially wasted 5 to 7 minutes of her gold per 5 gain. So now she's pretty far behind, and she's not going to be able to farm to get that back. And here the Morgana just gives 0 fucks and tries not to block that shot for the Trundle for some reason. So he tries to flash behind her too and wastes it, which is pretty bad. But now you can see why taking top tower was so good, because now we have all 3 of these towers down, and look at how much map control that gives us. It lets us roam through here unimpeded. It let me come all the way down through here and get a great gank off on the Janna and the Misfortune bottom. So now speeding through this, I go back because I have a ton of money, and I immediately buy Rylai's, because not only does this let me initiate, but this lets me initiate with not only a stun, but a huge slow. Everyone around me is going to be slowed. And what I want to do right now is peel them off this Caitlyn, because look at how farmed she is. She has an Infinity Edge, Berserker's Greaves, Wriggles, and another BF Sword. She's doing a ton of damage. And I want to kind of cause havoc among them and be able to kite them, because Trundle and Pantheon are both really weak to kiting, because the Trundle is not going to hit me if he's slowed and stunned with Rylai's, which is what Kennen's really good at. So that's just kind of some logic behind what I'm building right now. Right here, it's just really poor play on these people's part. They notice that none of us are missing, and they proceed to continue to push bottom. The Trundle tries to make the most and split push it, and then I think someone, the Cho'Gath, might have pinged Baron. No, actually, I pinged Baron here. And then the Cho'Gath made a good point. He said the death timers were too short, and between Morgana and Pantheon, they could probably do enough damage that the other two would be up and could finish us off. So I make note of that. I say he's right, and then I start to go top. I'm just kind of sticking with my team now, if you notice. The Cho'Gath's huge. He has Frozen Heart, Ninja Tabby, and a lot of resists, and he also has 2.6k health. So if I stick with my team like this, then I know that nothing is going to kill us at this point, just because we kind of have recovered our lead, and I'm 4-1-4. I can take on about 3 people right now, just because I play Kennen a ton, and I know his limits. I know I can take on about 3 characters with another person with me and come out on top just because of how much CC and kiting I have. So right here, when you get to this point of the game, this is a really important thing. You just roam as your team and you try and catch them off guard in places where you don't think they have wards. A lot of people never ward their own jungle. And when we see Misfortune bottom like this, we know that it's an opportunity for us to go in. So we just kind of start damaging top tower, poking at it. We want to try and force the Misfortune to leave bottom, or we wanted to force a 4v5 team fight, which is the logic that's going on right here. So noticing that Misfortune isn't taking our bait, I decide to go back, and I make a mistake there. I'm backing and then I accidentally click somewhere, and then I don't notice that my team is fighting before I go back, so that's unfortunate. But I do end up scaring the Misfortune off. She leaves when she knows that I'm coming. And then they are just hellbent on getting the Cho'Gath and the Gangplank. And the Gangplank flashes, and then I see that they're still fighting. So I decide that I'm going to go help in middle. And the Gangplank is not that low, so this is a mistake on their part. They know that I'm missing, and then they decide to try and dive the Gangplank. So I ult in, and I CC almost all of them. And they dive into 2 towers. They're taking a ton of hits. I kill the Pantheon. And then, this is actually pretty silly. I make a really bad play here. But the Janna's really slowed, and I'm chasing her, hitting her with all my skill shots. I stun her, and all it requires is a Q, and I miss it. It's a terrible miss. I shouldn't have missed that shot. But anyways, see how low I got them all? Like, none of them have any health. The Janna has no flash. None of them have any flash because they all tower dove. They used all their ultimates. And I ping Baron. And my team is all right here, or at least the people that do damage, the Caitlyn and myself. And I know we can do it between us because Caitlyn has Wriggles. So we start to do Baron, and we pick it up easily because all of them had to back. There's no way they could have stopped us. And doing calls like that, just basically telling your team where to go, is another way that's carrying yourself. You know, you just have to know parts of the game, what to do, and what to do at what times. I know it's going to be tough to push against all 5 of them with our team right now, so we just ping Baron. And we need to go fix top. So Someone says that top will be fine, and Gangplank heads up there. We see Janna warding our blue, and I check her inventory. Whenever someone goes into the fog of war like that and you see them, just check their inventory. If they have wards, assume that whatever they just did is warded. Right here, she is really out of position, and I catch that, and she also has oracles, so she's a great target to kill. So I run in and I initiate on this, and look how much damage I put out. I get the Trundle to below a quarter health, probably an eighth health. And then the Misfortune, we force her flash, and then I continue to burst her down until she's below a quarter health as well. And then the Morgana is the only one full health. But me initiating on that, even though I died, it was a really good play, because I got, look at how low I got all of them. The Trundle is still below half. I got the Misfortune to a bar, and then I almost killed the Janna. So when you see an opportunity like that, it doesn't matter if you die. Because then I even tell my team, I'm say, go for towers, because we killed the Morgana. And then they keep going. They have Baron. I know that they can push. And I'm even timing. What I'm doing right now is I'm sitting here looking at the death timers, because Morgana is a huge threat, and the only one that can really stop them. So I'm basically saying, hey guys, you have 30 till more, 20, and then I tell them to be. Just because there's 4 of them there, and I'm a huge part of our damage, but they're able to get it after all, so. And now I buy the last component. I sell that cloth armor, and I buy Zanya's Hourglass, because that gives me a ton of AP. I now have 314 AP in addition to 144 armor and 55 magic resist. So, plus I have a ton of sustain. I can just kind of run in, and then they make a mistake that a lot of people make, and they're trying to defend, and they run in one by one. So I just run in, and I clean up. I flash into them, I W, and I annihilate all of them. We ace them in their base, just because they decide to come in one by one. So whenever you're losing an inhib like that, just wait until your whole team is up. If they had waited until they had regrouped, we wouldn't have been able to win this early, and they might have been able to last a bit longer. I mean, it was kind of a decisive win, just because I roamed and I successfully won every lane. That's one of the things you have to do, is if your lanes aren't winning, you just need to win your lane. And because I was winning my mid lane so hard, I was able to switch lanes with Cho'Gath and dominate top, and then I was also able to kind of kill the top tower and then roam and help bottom and middle as I needed. So that's one of the things you can do to help, is just watch your teammates, help them out, and try and win all the lanes. So there's another one. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Victory!